Welcome back. Now, Chinese Premier Xi Jinping is in India. He was given a grand welcome at the Chennai airport. And a few hours from there, he went to Mamallapuram, where he met Prime Minister Narendra Modi. And both of them will now be holding the informal meet in the coastal town. The coastal town has completely been turned into a fortress. The town has also been decked up for the mega Xi-Modi meet. A guided tour was accorded to the Chinese president by the Prime Minister himself, which was followed by mesmerizing cultural program at the Pancharatha, where both the leaders, the Pancharathas, where both the leaders in fact sat down along with the delegation for an evening of cultural extravaganza. The leaders first visited the Arjuna penance, which depicts the story of Arjuna receiving the weapon from Lord Shiva. After that, they went to the Pancharatha, where a UNESCO World Heritage Site and Shore Temple, along with Krishna's waterfall. Many occasions where both, in fact, these leaders were shaking hands at least 8 times. Quite relaxed, in fact, atmosphere. President Xi Jinping was dressed in this dark color trouser and white shirt without a tie and a jacket, so quite informal. And the Prime Minister soaking up the whole vibe here in fact, Tamil Nadu, depicting the culture of the place in a veshti, white shirt and an Angavastra. Prime Minister took the President of China around all these places, and then they, of course, that moment when both of them sat down, had a few words and also enjoyed coconut water. Geeta Mohan, my colleague, is now joining me. Now it's time for dinner. Geeta, the South Indian delicacy is waiting for the leaders of the 2 most populous countries in the world. But important thing is that at this point of time, at least, it has begun well. A warm reception, a warm welcome, and both of them seemed quite relaxed in each other's company.
Well, absolutely. And look, again, we've been saying this all along, Ankit. These are 2 leaders who are very strong leaders. They think about their own countries, one India, one China. They speak their own languages. Interestingly, this entire meeting and the conversations that you see, the freewheeling conversations that are taking place, are with interpreters on the side. Prime Minister Narendra Modi speaking very comfortably only in Hindi, and President Xi Jinping only in Mandarin, with the interpreters interpreting for them. To ensure that there is no misinterpretation or there is no missing of any messaging over here. There is absolute clarity in what they want to say to each other. That's the comfort level. President Xi Jinping never speaks in English, and Prime Minister Narendra Modi very rarely does, only if he has to, which makes it all the more comfortable for them, and a very comfortable scenario for both the leaders to speak. So yes, they are meeting again in the backdrop of the beautiful ocean, as well as having a very sumptuous meal, and the freewheeling conversations will continue till tomorrow afternoon, Ankit.
So it has set, in fact, the ground, the conversation between both leaders. 6 hours is what they'll be spending in various events. The dinner today, tomorrow at lunchtime as well. There'll be some walk and talk. Again, today, possibly it was just about culture, the significance of this place, and of course, just Prime Minister playing the guide for the Chinese president. Geeta, you've seen what happened in Wuhan, which was the starting of this informal structure of the summit between India and China. From Wuhan to Mamallapuram, what are the changes that you have seen in both the leaders, their style of functioning, and what India and China have been able to achieve?
Well, 2 very important things have happened. That is, knowing very well, there is an understanding in Beijing and in New Delhi that Xi Jinping and Narendra Modi are here to stay. There has been a change in their own constitution in China, wherein there is no cap now on presidency. In India, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has come back with a thumping majority. So despite the areas of contention between the 2 countries, there is a realization that these are the the leaders, and knowing the importance of each other, the countries, that these are the leaders that they have to deal with, and this is the ideology or the way the leaders deal with matters. There has been an unprecedented decision that has been taken by the Modi administration, and that's why, Ankit, I keep saying the reaction from Beijing has been unprecedented. We've not seen such sharp reactions in a very, very long time from Beijing. Having said that, again, we'll have to see whether if Xi Jinping and Narendra Modi can reset and get back on the right trajectory on various issues, and know whether if there is going to be forward movement or not on all fronts, including keeping Kashmir in mind.
So, Geeta, as far as this entire unstructured summit is concerned, now, a lot of analysts have been saying that not much both the countries were able to achieve on what they had, in fact, set down after the Wuhan summit. What do you see as the problem areas that both the leaders possibly, with the kind of warmth that we have seen, the bonhomie we have seen, this also achieves a lot in diplomacy. What they would be hoping, both India and China, the issues that they would be hoping that both these leaders will be tied over?
Only through the Pakistan prism, because China will stand with Pakistan.
Well, it is not exactly true. Yes, it is not the Wuhan spirit and the Wuhan summit was not able to achieve exactly what they had spelled out, but a lot has been achieved. The trade deficit has indeed decreased, not so much that India would be satisfied with it, because it still is very much weighing on the Chinese side an advantage to China. So yes, there are a lot of problem areas, but there has been a lot of forward movement. We've seen investors looking at India. We've seen Indian investors looking at China. We've seen businesses grow, and both countries looking at how important they are for each other, including the service sector. There's a lot of information and technology industries and companies that now have started sending their employees to Beijing, to China, and people coming in from China into companies that are based out of Chennai, Bangalore and Hyderabad. So there has been a lot of to and fro. One cannot take away from that. Unfortunately, it is basically in the area of tourism, cultural engagement, people-to-people exchange, where we have really not improved. While there are e-visas available, nobody's really availing it. Nobody's really looking at traveling to each other's countries, and that's a problem area. So today, coming to Mamallapuram and talking about tourist destinations and looking at these important historical connections that cities such as Mamallapuram had with China is an important aspect of increasing people-to-people exchange. So these are areas that are of concern to the Indian side,
Yes,
as also to the Chinese side. But there has, Ankit, been growth, although it has not been to India's satisfaction or China's satisfaction.
We have to take a very quick break, and on the other side, I want to focus on the shadow of Kashmir on this visit as well, because there were some statements, strong statements made by the Chinese side, something that India would not like. So we'll try and understand how that, in fact, is how the Kashmir issue, in fact, can be one problem area which both the leaders would want to discuss. Prime Minister Modi will in fact host Chinese President Xi Jinping for dinner. Xi Jinping will be served special dinner with focus on South Indian delicacies. The menu reflects sweeping diversity of South India culinary traditions from Chettinad to Karaikudi. All regional cuisines will be served to Xi Jinping's table tonight. Special focus on the evening will be on the THAKKALI, RASAM, ARACHAVITTA, SAMBAR, KADALAI, KURUMA and the KAVANARASI, HALWA.
कलाकारों के लिए जीवन भर संजो कर रखने वाली याद।
Now, back in the 1980s, neighbors India and China were almost equal economies, but it all changed with Deng Xiaoping unleashed economic reforms. Now, China grew at a brisk pace and its GDP is now 5 times that of India. The dragon also has an upper hand over India in trade and military expenditure. Take a look at this detailed report, which will give you an idea of the differences between both India and China.
In the race between the dragon and the elephant was clearly in the lead for several decades. The tide turned in the 80s. Deng Xiaoping unleashed economic reforms. The reforms came 10 years later in India, and the effect has been telling. China grew at an average rate of 10% between 1980 and 2010, leaving India far behind. Today, the gap between the two Asian giants is huge. China's aggregate GDP is $14.2 trillion, nearly 5 times India's $2.8 trillion economy. India-China trade in 2018 stood at $86 billion. Here too, China is the big beneficiary. India's trade deficit with China was nearly $54 billion, and it accounted for almost a third of India's deficit. China is not just an economic superpower. According to a 2018 report, China's annual defense spending is $250 billion, almost 4 times that of India. This power imbalance doesn't dwell well for India on the diplomatic front. With an unresolved boundary dispute and China's support to Pakistan, managing ties with China is one of the biggest challenges for the Narendra Modi government. Bureau Report, India Today.
Thanks for watching the video. For more such news and updates, please like, share and subscribe to India Today. Also check out our other great videos from our channel. We know you will love to.